welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to do a little review and I wanted to show you this curriculum by Memoria Press. It is called First Start Reading and it covers phonics, reading, and printing. Now, if you go on their website, you're gonna find that they have a whole set, many different items for kindergarten, for first grade, and there's more that comes with this curriculum. This is not just one whole thing and go. They have more material, they have flashcards, they have another workbook that covers phonics, and there is just more on their website. But I just wanted to show you how it looks inside. So basically, this curriculum comes with individual books. Each book is assigned a letter: book A, book B, book C, book D. And there is also a book E. And they also come with a teacher's manual. Now, this particular teacher's manual, I believe, covers books A through C or A through D. And there is a different curriculum teacher's guide for book E. That's what I believe. So basically, the teacher's guide, this one is spiral. That's really nice to kind of flip through. It kind of gives you lesson plans, an introduction, an appendix, and it will show you what the lessons in this workbook. This is book A. It's gonna go through each lesson and what short vowel sounds they are covered, what CVC words are covered within as you progress through the book. So it is a guide. And this is book B. This part corresponds to book B. This part corresponds to book C. This one corresponds to book A. So everything, all the information is kind of divided out into books, and it kind of tells you. And then you go on and it shows you teaching guidelines, how to get started, pencil grip. So it will kind of show you a lot of information. Ready to write. And here it shows you the lesson overview, the teaching tips, and it also teaches you the exact little square of what's going on in the student workbook. So this curriculum has opportunity for handwriting for the child to practice writing letters. Also, their goal is for the child to learn to read, to combine the letters, to do blending. And one way they accomplish that is by doing these little dotted lines for the child to connect the words. Now, there are other curriculums that teaches children how to read that focus strictly on memorization or sight words, or just memorize this and you're good to go. This curriculum doesn't do that. Of course, there are some words that may be considered sight words. They're more repetitive, you see them more often, and eventually the child will memorize them naturally. But there's a difference between memorizing something because you have to memorize this many words, or memorizing something because you have seen it so many times. So we've all have memorized many different words because we have seen them multiple times. But the goal here is to get the child to read sentences, but learning how to read step by step, not through memorization. So the teaching doesn't go in order of the alphabet. You don't start with letters A, then B, then C. You just move on to, of course, learning A and M, but you're also now combining letter S to it. You're also bringing in letter I to it to kind of make a sentence. And that's kind of the goal, is to get the child reading right away. And everything will flow to where the whole alphabet will be covered, but it will not be covered in order. It will be covered through the course of the different books. So you have this lesson. Here are the instructions: blend, blank, trace, blank, read, and trace. So that's kind of the part that the child is doing. Like you see, I'm going to show you. And here is the instructions for the teacher or parent. And there is enough instructions that you can kind of read and prepare prior to the lesson. And now I wanted to show you the student workbooks. This is book A, the first one. You're gonna see that the book is not very thick at all. Can be covered in a span. There's another thing, there's not a calendar. They do have kind of like a schedule book that they sell separately that will kind of tell you, how to build your schedule and use this book, and also use flashcards, and also use the reader's books, and also use something else. And they kind of have a schedule laid out for you that you can have. But if you don't have that book, they don't have a time schedule here in these books that you can go by. Like, this is the first week, and you need to cover this much material before you move on to week 2. You don't have that. This is more very, very, very straight to the point. You have the basic information that you need. There's not additional information. This curriculum is very, very straight to the point. This is the author. The title. Curriculum workbook is not colored. So I know sometimes we gravitate toward things that have color in them, that the child enjoys colored. But here, as you can see, this is the contents of book A. We are learning some common words, CVC words like I, Sam, man, run. CVC words. Okay, so when we start with lesson 1, you're gonna see this book is very, 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 I almost want to say old school type thing. That can be a positive thing. It's black and white intentionally. The child can color it. The child can color. The child can add stickers. The child can, it's more than welcome, and it's encouraged to draw a picture of something that begins with M. And here is handwriting. You do have these little guides so that you know where to start. And this little dot right here where you would start for handwriting. But it's very old school. It's very old school curriculum, but there's beauty in that. And that's exactly why I gravitated towards this curriculum versus other curriculums out there. So these are some words, some pictures that begin with the letter A, but the sound A, the short vowel sound. And here you have the uppercase letters and the lowercase letters. And of course, if you find that your child needs additional practice because child's not so comfortable handwriting yet, I'm sure they have another workbook that focuses more on handwriting, penmanship or something like that. So this right here is just to make the connection that you are reading, you are writing, you are drawing. You're also being creative, draw a picture of yourself. So this is a part that the child can have fun. So while you're learning to read, you can still make it personal. It's not a cookie cutter. Your child can be creative. And then here is the part where we are still learning new words. And if you notice, these are two-letter words. Two-letter words, one-letter word. So we are starting from bite sizes. Sometimes I see curriculum that when you are starting from the beginning, either it's like for a very, very, very young child or for a very, very advanced child, So you don't have a lot of, let's start from the beginning with one letter or two letters. And there's so much power in doing that. There's so much beauty and learning to read, which is so complex and such a complex skill, but to start from bite sizes, to start from the very beginning, and to have fun with it. This is a process. Learning how to read is a process. Handwriting is a process. It's a skill. It's something that you master. You don't have to have it all figured out by 5 years of age or anything like that. This is something the child can grow to. And as you see, lesson 7, each lesson is not burdensome. It's not tiring. It's not it's not going to be dreadful. It's very short to the point. This is the next lesson. The child can color. And here is a picture, here is a description, a word, and here you have a sentence. So this curriculum is well thought out. Things are logical, things make sense, things flow together. They correspond with each other. And there is room for creativity. It's not cookie cutter. And here you see we are already using letter R in our lesson number 10, and that doesn't follow the alphabet order sequence. It's giving you the consonants that you can blend with the vowels to make more words, because they want to create those words from the beginning so that the child can feel like, hey, I am reading or I am writing and this makes sense. This information makes sense. And that builds a momentum for wanting to learn more. It builds excitement into, if I already know how to read this, simple word, I can read more words. So here, at is something very, very short, very, very simple to learn, very simple to pronounce. And once you know that, you can add M to it and make a new word. Mat, you can add the letter S and create a new word, or letter R, letter F. And there are other workbooks, curriculums that I have found that kind of follow this kind of format. And I feel like that works because it helps the child learn new words, and the child can feel accomplished and feel, yeah, I'm not wasting my time. Because when you're first learning how to read, it's going to take a while before you see results, before you're able to read a whole book, before you're able to read anything. So it's good to get that reinforcement from the beginning to whatever level you can, just so you don't get discouraged, because sometimes children feel discouraged when they can't meet that expectation. So the idea is to build momentum, to encourage the child, and to keep moving forward. So the pictures, I love them. They are very, very beautiful, very, very simple. Now, this is the beauty of this curriculum, that this is simple, straight to the point. Nothing that you don't need. So, but at the same time, within that simplicity, you are making progress because, like with anything, you make more progress the more you stick with the curriculum over time. So, the key word here is over time, you are gonna see that progress. And if this is not a good fit, there are many other curriculums out there. And it's just a matter of finding the right fit, finding the curriculum that works best for your child at the level that your child is at right now. Not at the level, not starting out with a curriculum wishing our child already knew this information, because that just creates frustration. It just creates a different kind of negativity towards reading. So at the end of, once we went over that, towards the end of the book, we have first story. So here you have a little story. Now they do have readers. They do sell readers that go along with this book on their website, and they have a lot of other readers, and you're more than welcome to use other readers that you may have handy that cover CVC words with the letter A from the very beginning. If you have those, you're more than welcome to use those. Now, this workbook did come with just a little bit of a reader built into the workbook, which is nice because me personally, I have not bought the reader books just yet. So this is kind of nice to have something that looks like a book within the workbook. So I have not seen that before, and I think that's really nice. Another thing I love, and another thing I always pay attention to with readers and stuff, is that I love to have a big font. A lot of times I've seen many kindergarten books or first grade books with tons of pictures or just wonderful, beautiful book, but when you pick up the font, it's so small, tiny print. It's so hard to read, and you have to really make an effort to read it. But I love any curriculum that uses child-friendly font, easy to read font that is bigger, that has been magnified just at the beginning of when you're learning how to read. Later on, as the child grows up and already has mastered these words, it's okay to tone down the font size to a regular book size font. But I personally gravitate towards this. This is bigger than it looks. It's not way too big to where you can't fit all of this information at once, but it's big enough it's bigger than a regular book. So it has room for the child to draw a picture or to draw a sentence from the story. So now the child is using handwriting. Here is another story, just 7 sentences long. That's a lot, and you don't have to do it all in one go. You can kind of come back to and take your time, because the thing about this is that it's not about rushing through and accomplishing it. It's about letting it sink in. So take as long as you need to for your child to make sense of this information. Third story. So every story has a theme. It has the same information we have learned before. So this is also kind of like a review. It's not really saying this is a review, but it's saying, hey, we're not giving you new information. We already know that the child has been working on these words, so we're making them into sentence. And here, word mastery review. So here, it's going to be a list of words, a list of word or word families, and we just want to keep track of, is this something that my child, for instance, this word, Dan, this sometimes sight word, sometimes you need to kind of sit with it a little bit longer to really make sense of it. But the rest of them, they're more like CVC words that the child can kind of sound out and make sense of. So do we need to work on this one a little longer? then you can kind of circle it. You can, make your own notes. There's plenty of room here. And then you can kind of move on to the other word families that are still covered within this book. So, or you can just practice them individually. There is a little instruction here. And of course you have these kind of words. Very nice. And word mastery review, possessiveness. Very good. Dictation practice of CVC words. Now, dictation, that also teaches with handwriting, teaches with listening skills. And Book A assessments. Okay, so I'm sure that the teacher's guide will kind of guide me through how to do the assessments or what I need to do for this part. Listen to each pupil read words aloud or record number correct on records page. So this is, I guess, it's more for the teacher or parent to do a little assessment. And the purpose of this is for you to know if the child has mastered those words or if the child needs a little extra practice. And if the child needs a little extra practice, this is a good stopping point to kind of figure that out, understand that before we move on to the next book. And then the last page is like an alphabet. It kind of teaches how to write each word with those arrows. So basically, once you finish those assessments, the teacher can kind of determine whether the child is ready to move on to Book B. So, or if we need to stay longer on certain words. So you can have a little break between Book A and Book B while you work on those words that maybe need a little bit more practice. But once you're ready, then you move on to Book B. And we're going to cover Book B in our next video.